Hi everyone! Today we are working on reflexive and intensive pronouns. So if you want to pull out your book, we're going to open up to page 237, 238. So on page 237, it kind of gives us a rundown of what a reflexive and intensive pronoun is. And they are pronouns that end in self or selves. So self for singular and selves for plural. They refer back to a noun or another pronoun in the same sentence. So some singular reflexive and intensive pronouns will be myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, and then plural ones would be ourselves, yourselves, themselves. So it gives us an example here of what a reflexive pronoun is. So it's the object pronoun that refers back to the subject and is important to the meaning of the sentence. So if you leave out the reflexive pronoun, the sentence will not be clear. For instance, Jake was mad at himself for dropping the ball during the game. If we were to leave that out, it would sound like Jake was mad at for dropping the ball during the game. So it is important to have the singular one in this particular case because Jake is singular. So we would say himself. So this is definitely going back to the object of the sentence. The second one for intensive pronoun. So an intensive pronoun can be used to emphasize or intensify a noun or pronoun. So if you leave out the intensive pronoun, the sentence will still make sense. For instance, I thought it wasn't his fault. His teammates agreed. So absolutely you don't necessarily need the intensive pronoun, but it just shows that it's emphasis, like it's bringing emphasis to your sentence. So I myself thought it wasn't his fault. His teammates themselves agreed. So we're going to do some practice problems here on the bottom of the page. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross out the incorrect pronoun or pronouns in each sentence, and then we'll write the correct form above the incorrect one. So we'll do that together. Number one says, let me get my marker here to cross out. Number one says, my family and myself were excited to see my brother's first ball game. So here we're going to cross out the word myself, and we're going to use our text box and right above it, we're going, oh, that's really big. Let me make it smaller. Here we go. Let me just change the size here. And let's try that again. So we're going to move it over a little bit. And we're going to put the word I. So we're replacing it with the word I, the letter I. So my family and I were excited to see my brother's first ball game. Doesn't that sound a little bit better? Because my family and myself is just not quite right, especially because they are referring myself to the pronoun I. And so we see that up here where it talks about that you don't necessarily need themselves or myself in the sentence because it still makes sense without it. And myself is is referring to I here. Okay, number two. Number two says he itself was nervous about how he would play. Do you see what's wrong with the sentence? Yeah, itself is not correct. He itself, so he has now become an it, is basically what it's saying. So yeah, that's not correct. We want to definitely change itself to what would be a proper intensive or reflexive pronoun here. Himself, right? He himself was nervous about how he would play. And again, we know that this is, if we go back up to right here, we know that this is an intensive pronoun because you don't absolutely need it to still make the sentence make sense or to be understood. So he himself was nervous. We could also say he was nervous about how he would play. either of those works. Number 3, Dad drove us to the field at 1 o'clock, although the game themselves did not start until 2. Okay, so the noun here that we're looking at is game. So would we want to use themselves to represent game? No, for sure not, right? So I'm going to cross that out because it's a game. The game is not plural, number 1, and we want to change that. So instead of the game themselves, it would be the game itself. Okay. All right, number 4. Himself and I found themselves good seats in the bleachers. Wow. That one just doesn't sound right, right? Himself and I found themselves good seats in the bleachers. So absolutely, we're going to take out himself and I. We're going to cross those ones out. And then we're also going to cross out themselves because that one doesn't work either. So himself and I, we're just going to change it to our regular pronoun, he and I. That would work best. So let me do my text here, and I'll put it, I'm going to change the color actually of our text since it's so close to the other one, just so we can see the difference. Okay, so let me put that here. Well, I don't want to write there. Now it's over my words. Let me get rid of that. We'll go up a little bit. There we go. And we're going to change it to he and I. Whoops, capital I. So he and I found blank good seats in the bleachers. So instead of themselves, because he's including himself in this sentence, we would say ourselves. So he and I found ourselves because he's included in the sentence. So we'll put that right up here. Ourselves. Once again, it's like right next to. Let me put it up just a little bit higher. There we go. Ourselves. And because there's more than one person, it's he and I, we definitely want that to be the plural form. Okay, so now let's read it and see if it sounds better. He and I found ourselves good seats in the bleachers. Yeah, sounds a lot better. Number 5. My 2 sisters went to buy popcorn for herself. Okay, so it's talking about 2 sisters here. So if it's talking about 2 sisters, herself is singular. We don't want the singular version. We would want the plural version. So that would be themselves. Yep. So we're going to put that right above here. And we'll put themselves. So my 2 sisters went to buy popcorn for themselves. That sounds a lot better. All right, number 6. Myself asked them to bring some for Dad and me. Oh goodness, sometimes these just sound so funny to me when they don't sound right. So myself asked them to bring some for Dad and me. So definitely we're going to cross off myself here. Okay, what pronoun should we use instead of myself? We would use I. I asked them to bring some for Dad and me. So absolutely that sounds a lot better. Number 7, when they returned, Dad told them you'll fill yourself with popcorn and miss dinner. So remember, we're talking about his 2 sisters, so it's more than one person, and yourself is singular, so we would definitely want to change that to plural. So you'll fill yourselves with popcorn and miss dinner would be the correct term. So let's put yourselves. Okay. Excellent. So that's done. What you're going to do is you're going to do questions 1 through 5. I will have uploaded the answer key for you in the assignment so you can check your answers. But you definitely want to choose the correct pronoun to replace the underlined pronoun, okay? So like for number 1, when the team lost the game, the players blamed ourselves. So they're talking about the team now. He's not saying we. If he was saying we, ourselves, he would be included. That makes sense. But he's talking about the team here. So ourselves needs to be replaced with which one? Themselves. Yeah, so I've already given you that answer right there. That would be number 1 would be B. So you're just going to go through, and I suggest saying the sentences out loud, because a lot of times when you say them out loud, you can hear what's wrong with the sentence. So you'll do numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can check your answers with the answer key. Then you'll take a picture of this page and upload it, or you can type it into the text box or scan it, but make sure you upload the document to your Canvas. And of course, if you have any questions, come see me.